Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is college basketball for Thursday, January 18th. Back after a rare night off. Sorry for the lack of a show there. We're usually remarkably consistent about these things, other than when we were in the hospital because the little one. But made a bunch of updates to the model.
I was about to say, was it really a night off?
It was not a night off for me.
Yeah.
It was a night off for Jake. It was supposed to be on the show as well. But yeah, made a bunch of adjustments in nothing overly major, as much as just some things in the data, trying to make sure that with all the data feeds coming out, the players are matched up right and not missing data from one source or another. Things about usage. I kind of had built the model to just pretend I was like God coach and would play the players like I wanted, and kind of realizing, trying to balance that with what's actually happening. And the reason I have to kind of play God a little bit is because then when injuries happen, right, I want to be able to have some mechanism to predict what will happen going forward. And we'll talk about one of those specifically with Illinois, right, with Shannon out, not an injury, but a player out. And of course, Michigan as well, with a player out on the road, trying to figure out how to allocate those minutes to best predict. And trying to find a better way to do that. So spent a lot of time on that. So no show there. Otherwise, though, back here with 3 games, kind of all late for the free show. 3 more in the extended cut, including the play of the day. And again, you can get all the best bets, the extended cut play of the day on Dub Club. You might as well sign up for a free trial. You might as well sign up and see which team we're going to back around even money, who is going to have a 20-plus point lead and then blow it, because we seem to be really good at that. And I don't know, Cousin Jared, I'm at a loss for words. We talk a lot about the ups and downs, and it happens in every sport. And in every sport, going back for a good while now, with these versions of the model, these player-based versions that I've had, the ups have always outweighed the downs by the end of the season.
Right.
In the middle of it, it doesn't feel that good. Specifically, though, these downs happening with this is tonight with Southern Illinois. It was the 3rd time we had a team in the last week with a 20-plus point lead that ended up losing outright. And I don't know what to make of that. Maybe one day we'll be on the other side of that. Maybe one day that'll just stop happening and we can just go back to winning money again. I'd like that personally.
Yeah. I would be. I'm down. I'm down for that too.
Yeah.
The longer that we do this, it's just like college basketball. It's just its own animal. Like it is just. It seems to be the most variable roller coaster ride that you could possibly jump on. And definitely there have been plenty of times where things have gone bad, and there have been more bad times this year than good. But when it's gone good, we've had multiple days this season where it's like, this is gangbusters. We are, not going to be able to top this. And then, in the next week, you got like 2 terrible days. So it is just, college basketball is a roller coaster ride. That is for sure.
Because it reminds me of, I believe it was 3 baseball seasons ago now, where we had that I think it was 6 weeks, where every time we had a lead in the 9th inning on a team, the closer blew it. And every time we had a team down in the 9th inning, they could not come back. And it was like 6 straight weeks of that. And then when that finally ended, we got to September, and I think we made like 50 units in September or something ridiculous. And then in October was just almost as good. Fewer games, of course, in the playoffs. But that was one of the weirdest stretches. And this is starting to remind me of that, where it's just like, I don't even know anymore. Like, how this is going to play out. It'll end. We will stop having these weird things eventually. But if you're with us over at Dub Club, you've seen some of these best bets just look great and then fall apart. Or the Nebraska game where we had, double A grade. And in regulation, we had the underdog in Nebraska who covered in regulation, and we had the under, which covered in regulation. And of course, it goes to overtime and both bets lose. It's like, I don't know what to do with that. Both picks were right. They were the right side. And both lost. And in the long run, it'll balance out. It's just right now we are not in the long run, we are in the short run. And so hopefully tomorrow begins that and it'll all balance out. But anyway, hopefully, you're having a little bit better luck than we are. but we do encourage you to join us over on Dub Club. We have a lot of fun over our Discord playing, but we also talk about, Australia Open bets and, NBA bets and NHL bets and goals in first 5 or not in first 5 and first 10 and goalie safe props and all sorts of fun stuff. So a lot of fun over there on the Discord. You can get that via Dub Club. You can link in the show description, free trial. Check it out. Otherwise, let's get to it here. Illinois and Michigan, kind of already alluded to it. You've got Michigan's best player out for road games, but not for home games, and that matters.
Yeah.
Illinois' best player just out.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good, very good, and he's out, of course. Legal stuff happening with that too, which is just interesting. I don't have anything to say about it because I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about how that'll play out, but interesting that he's now filed a restraining order against the university. I don't know where it's going to go. We're just here to observe and find out. And if he's back, when he's back, we'll plug him in. And if not, we won't. It'll just, we have a player-based model to handle whatever happens with that a situation that seems to have another interesting wrinkle every time we turn around. But they're still a good team without him. They're just not as good. And we saw that here. Over the weekend, Michigan, kind of fallen from grace from that early season. We talked about that actually earlier this week when we backed Michigan on MLK Day. And we said Michigan was the right side against Ohio State. And our thinking along that lines was basically just we take home teams in the Big Ten for the most part. We try to.
Yeah.
And, I think this one's no different. We're going to take Michigan plus 120 as an A grade here. Illinois is a better team, but it's hard to win on the road. And model says Michigan's actually slightly more likely to win this because of the home court advantage. When this reverse game's played in Illinois, the model would have them at like 80% likely to win or something, but it's a very big swing for home court advantage, especially in the Big Ten. Because you're at plus 120. I think the A grade threshold for this is about plus 115. So we need the plus odds, or else we're not taking Michigan. Otherwise it's not worth it. Just the same way we talked about against Ohio State. We needed good price, and today's no different. What's your take on it?
It's funny because I sometimes I do a little bit of research for this show. Other times I do no research. Did no research for this game because all I need to know is, and we've talked about the road games in the Big Ten are just brutal for these road teams. In my mind I was going to say if I can get plus odds with Michigan, that's all I need to know. Basically, a home team plus odds in the Big Ten, sign me up. And it's funny you say that plus 115 would be an A grade because if it's plus 105 or something, that's probably about a B grade or so. And so that basically lines up with what I was thinking in my head. If I can get plus odds, that means that there's value on Michigan. That's really all there is to it. I'm hoping that win over Ohio State gave Michigan the boost that they needed. I don't think this Michigan is a bad team. As you can see here, Sideline has a number 46 overall. It's just been partially the schedule, especially early. And then it's just like they kind of went into a lull right here when conference started going. And so I'm hoping that was just a little lull. That Ohio State game kind of brought them up from that. Now they're catching a good team, but they're getting them at home. I can't pass up on a Big Ten home team getting plus odds. That's kind of all there is to it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too when we were discussing what games to talk about. I was like, this one's kind of just like home team in the Big Ten at plus odds. Like, I don't know. Like, against not Purdue, who Purdue has had 2 really successful road games and 2 really unsuccessful road games at this point. Yeah. So even they aren't, excluded from that. But Purdue's at a different class than the rest of the Big Ten. Anybody else on the road is tough. So, again, always about the price. It's never not about the price. Every side is worth playing at the right price. If I can get Illinois at I'd have to get bigger than plus 120, but at the right plus odds, I'd take a chance on the road team with them. We had Nebraska at plus whatever it was, 140 or something as an A grade pick here tonight, and that didn't come through. But again, when you go to overtime with those odds, you at least feel like you have the right side. Because Jared, I think it's interesting when you compare this game with the one we had Monday against Ohio State. The A grade threshold's a little bit different. I think on that one, we said the A grade threshold was like minus 105, maybe. This one's plus 115. It's a full 20 cents different. And folks, that 20 cents matters. The closer you get to even money, the larger each cent carries more weight and probability. So it's a big shift from minus 105 to plus 115. It's not a it's only 20 cents, but that 20 cents is bigger in probability than the shift from, say, minus 200 to minus 220, which is the same 20 cents, but from probability scale, it's not a linear translation. So and that kind of makes sense because Illinois is a better team than Ohio State. So I think it kind of aligns with that. I think the last thing I'll say about this, the X's and O's part of this, is all these units on the court are about the same, except for Michigan's defense. The reason that we think Michigan's got a chance to win this game is simply because what happens when you go on the road, especially in the Big Ten, sometimes the offense doesn't travel very well. The defense will, but Michigan's got a good offense at home. If Illinois struggles to score, that can mask the big problem that Michigan has, which is their defense. And that's what could make this a ball game. And that's why it makes plus 120 worth the play.
I agree. I'm doing some mental math in my head. Big Ten conference teams are 32-11 at home. And there's one team that has multiple conference losses at home. That's Michigan.
Yeah.
But I think that changes.
Yeah. We'll hopefully, I mean, it won't change. They still will have multiple home losses, but hopefully they can at least continue their home winning ways. I'll be happy to fade Michigan on the road, especially without their best player, assuming the price is reasonable going forward. But at home, I think they're worth considering. I assume you get a good price. Even money might sprinkle on even money, but I'm not loving it. But happy to fade them on the road. Happy to back them home. We'll see if we can get the win just like we did on Monday. Which takes us to Gonzaga and Pepperdine. Cousin Jared, the Zags are very much on the bubble, which is hilarious to think about. Their resume is just not strong. My model and all the analytics I've seen kind of have them at like 25th or 30th best. You compare that with a weak resume. If they win the conference, they'll be fine. But if they don't, there's another thing you can't add to the resume. So it's just crazy to think about. This Gonzaga team's the weakest one we've seen in a long time. They're still good, but they're just not the same team we've seen before. And I think if you've been paying attention to all the college basketball at West, you've known that this Gonzaga team is not the same. I think it's very straightforward. Pepperdine, decent. They're okay. Gonzaga should be favored in this one on the road. We're not here to talk about that, though. We're here to talk about the total. When you see the pace of these two teams, Pepperdine slow, Gonzaga more fast than Pepperdine is slow. We think Gonzaga can control the pace of this game. And unfortunately, while that means there should be a lot of points, it doesn't mean there would be this many points. 157.5 is a lot. We're projecting about 150. The average we talk about is 144, 145. So we think more than an average number of points, but that doesn't mean we can get to this number. So we're going to go under 157.5, a great pick on this under. Cousin Jared, tell us more.
And at the beginning of the season, it felt like you couldn't set some of these totals high enough with how many points were being scored. It does feel like that going – I guess let me say that a little bit differently. Early in the season, you could say I'm going to go under 157.5, and it could still be plenty scary. I feel like since conference play, that has dialed back a little bit. We have done, we've talked about some of the, how the picks haven't gone well as of late. One area that we have been doing well is going under some of these huge total numbers. And
another example today with that being VMI Furman went under a very big number.
Yes. I think it was 163.5 at one point, ended up closing at 165.5. So it kept going up, and it would have gone easily under both of those numbers.
And it only got to 160 because Furman's down there jacking up threes 10 seconds into the shot clock in a 38-point game or something. And it still only got to 160. It shouldn't have even got that high. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah. And so the going under these bigger totals have been a better proposition maybe than they were early in the season. And even though Gonzaga is not the team that they have been in the past, and at least me, when I think Gonzaga, I always think about how good they are on offense, but that Gonzaga defense is still nothing to be trifled with, especially against a team like Pepperdine. I think Gonzaga's defense is what's going to make be the difference in this game. I think going on the road, it's like, hey, let's focus on playing some good defense here. Let's try to shut Pepperdine down. So I think that it's going to be Gonzaga's defense that kind of steals the show in this one.
And I think we're getting, sometimes we only have so much time on the show. We don't want to spend 25 minutes on each game. We probably spend too long on each game. So we apologize for that. we say a lot of things in here that you've heard a lot if you've been with us for a while. We try to say them again in case we know we get new people all the time. And so again, if you've been with us for a while and you hear the same things, we appreciate your patience through this while we help the new people catch them up to speed. But we talk about a lot of things. One of them is, we should always be able to think through how we lose a play and be thinking about how we feel about that. What's the probabilities of that? We talk about price sensitivity, and every side can be played at any price, right? One of the things, that we talk about is why we think we're getting value on a game. And sometimes we like to play that game. I think the answer to that one's pretty simple here. Gonzaga's defense is actually better than their offense. And that might be the first time we could say that since we've cared about Gonzaga. I mean, their offense has always been, and they've had years where their defense has been really good. I don't want to take anything away from that, whatever it was, 2021 team that played Baylor in the national championship, or it was so good. That defense was incredible. But even then, the offense was still better. And that's the thing, is the offense has always been there, and that's let the pace be there. But because their offense isn't as good this year, sometimes they feel like they're going a little bit slower than they were before. Their offense isn't as good in an era where all the other good offenses have gotten better. It's a little bit different. So I think we're getting value because of the reputation of Gonzaga. I think people are kind of starting to back off of them on the spread a little bit, but they haven't quite realized that they're not typically putting up 100 points in these conference games anymore, especially on the road. They're not quite that same team that was able to do that. And so it doesn't mean they can't do it on any individual game, right? But on average, we expect more times than not this to hang right around 150, maybe in the 140s, maybe in the 150s, but getting up to 160 or so it does not seem like the most likely thing. So we like this under 157.5. And again, remember, when you sign up on Dub Club, you get all sorts of great information. Here's the cheat sheet for Gonzaga Pepperdine. Get pause if you want to check that out and see what it says here. We think Gonzaga wins this 81% of the time. They should be 10.2 point favorites. I think they're 12-point favorites right now. So it's priced relatively well. You can see the team totals down there if that's something you like to bet. You can see the grades of all the units, where they rank, all sorts of goodies over there. You can see this for each and every game every day of the season. And then you also get in chart form as well. So check it out over in Dub Club. Again, free 1-week trial. Link to get you there is in the show description. And that'll wrap us up with a late one here, 11 p.m. Eastern, Washington State and Stanford. Cousin Jared, I mean, kind of go back to the first game and lather, rinse, repeat. The Pac-12 has some pretty big home court advantages. Even UCLA won at home here this last weekend. We're going to take the home team. Stanford model says they win 2 out of 3 times, so minus 142. That makes that an A grade. We took a dog earlier in the show. We'll take a favorite here. But, these two teams are next to each other, according to Sideline. Number 73 versus number 74. And in the Pac-12, the home court edge is just massive. The travel is hectic. It's longer than it is in a lot of other places. The way they do the road trips there, you end up with the largest home court advantages in the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the Pac-12. All right, soon to be RIP, of course. And so let's back the home team here, the Stanford Cardinal. Neither one of these teams is great. And so home team at a reasonable price seems pretty good to me. What are your thoughts, Cousin Jared?
So I really am interested in the matchup between Stanford's offense and Washington State's defense, because I think the winner of that matchup is going to be who wins this game, because
strength on strength there.
Strength on strength, yeah. But what I would say is everything I've seen from college basketball this season, I don't know why I wouldn't lend myself towards taking the offense in this spot. It just feels like we've talked about it a lot, how that's the way that college basketball is going this season. And so Stanford at home, they've got the victory over Arizona at home too. Like if they can play 85% of what they played against Arizona against this Washington State team, they're going to win at home.
Yeah. Well, on the other side of that contest, when Washington State has the ball, while their offense is a little bit better than Stanford's defense, the road effect right there is harder to bring the offense on the road. And so we think that Stanford, their biggest weakness, their defense, probably can hold up a little bit better at home. And while they'll have to go up against the tough Washington State defense, their offense should be able to be successful at home. Like I said, it was against Arizona, who has an extremely good defense. And so minus 142 makes for a pretty reasonable price. 2 out of 3 times would imply a money line of minus 200. So if you're playing this, we got to make sure it starts with a 1, and the closer it is to even money, the better play it is. So minus 180 is an okay play. Don't really love it, but would play at minus 160 is a pretty solid play, and the minus 140 range is a really good play. So again, all about the price here on this one. Of the 59 games or so The ones that we've identified as the A grades and the best bets are the ones that we think have the most value and the most likely chance of growing our bankroll in the long run. It does not mean we are predicting these games because nobody knows what will happen in one game, as evidenced by Southern friggin' Illinois tonight. Still better. There's your recap for the free show, our 3A grades for you. You got 3 more best bets coming in the extended cut after we have a 60-second interlude where we kind of throw some reminders your way. Before we do that, Cousin Jared, do you have any parting words?
If your team is in the Summit League or the Horizon League or Conference USA, stick around because we're hitting your leagues next. I don't know why the great basketball from those leagues is being banished to the extended cut, or study hall. But stick around. We've got.
I think you know why, but that's beside the point. All right. Again, if you want to see the extended cut, that link's available. Everyone on Dub Club. That link's in the show description. So hopefully, we'll see you after the musical interlude.